Alright, now for a while I've been wondering what I was going to do for my next video, and then I decided I would try to do a little bit of art. I came up with the idea of doing a little bit of art that you could hang up on your wall, but what would the art be?
Well, we're waiting.
But I've decided to do a little power carving onto some wood and then fill it with epoxy resin. Now on screen you'll see an image which I found online, but that isn't good enough to copy onto the wood that I'm going to use. So as you can see here, I got it into a pencil outline so it can be traced, but again there's far too much detail. I wanted it simple. So I went onto Affinity Pixel and I removed a lot of the lines to end up with this. But what wood will I use? Well, I've got some scrap Iroko and I'm going to transfer it using carbon trace paper.
So let me tell you where I got my inspiration for this. And it was watching a video by Alex Hancock, and there is a link to in the description to the video. In his video he's making a box, but it's the lid that got me thinking. Instead of cutting individual pieces to put epoxy in between them, why not just carve it out? But yeah, in sub note, I've currently got a cold, so that's why I sound totally different on the voiceover.
That should be ready for the next stage, which will be to power carve it using the palm router. Hope it works.
Now, the first time that I did any power carving like this was about 3 years ago, and at that time I was watching some videos where they were calling it hand carving, but everyone knows that when you hand carve, you're using chisels such as a V-gouge and other carving gouges along with a mallet. Using a power tool to carve is power carving. Anyway, rant over. The bit that I'm using in the router is a 20-degree V-groove engraving bit, which is great for fine details, especially if you're having to follow a line like I'm doing. Overall, I went a total depth of 5mm. Now if the image was bigger, what I may have done was to start with a V-groove and then I would have used an upcut bit just to give a bit more width, and that's just so the epoxy stands out a bit more. Just to note that there is an affiliate link in the description for the V-groove bit and other products that I use in this video. Just to give a mention about the jig that I'm using, yes, I made it myself and there are a lot of videos out there to show you how to make one. The one piece of advice that I would give is to make sure that you're using acrylic, also known as plexiglass, that is at least 8mm thick. I once used one which was just 5mm and it just smashed to pieces. So here is a different angle of the routing, and those blue lights are my LEDs reflecting off the acrylic. If I'd realised that that was going to happen, I would have turned them off beforehand. You may notice though that there isn't much dust produced from this, but I still would recommend wearing a dust mask, as it is very fine particles of dust that's produced. Okay, so I didn't really need to put this epoxy resin tape around the sides, but somewhere in the back of my head was a little voice that said if I didn't, it was going to pour all over the place. The brand of resin that I'm using is called Resin Angel. I think it must be an Amazon special, as I can't find a company website for it. Oh, and yes, and I also did pour way too much, but I'm going to keep the excess as I might be able to incorporate it into a future build or project. As for the pigments, I've never used a pigment before, I've just used the dye liquid, but I thought I would give these a go I think I should have just used the coloured dyes as there's issues coming up. I think it also goes without saying that make sure you're wearing the correct gloves. Like, don't wear gardening gloves or the ones that you use for DIY. The blue container is just a storage box that I took into the house so that the resin could cure, as it was way too cold in the workshop for it to cure within 2 weeks, never mind 24 hours. Then on to removing the excess resin. I thought using a carve scraper would be ideal. I have since seen a video where they just used a heat gun to soften the excess and then scrape it off. I wish I had seen that earlier. I felt that I did get desperate by using the hand plane, and then the one thing that they say you shouldn't do is to sand it down. So I sanded it down. So, if you think that I've made things bad before, this is really where the shit hits the fan. I used a clear cast polishing compound, and then I used what is classed as a car polishing pads that could be used on a combi drill. Then you just see how bad it became just because of the compound that has got into the grain of the wood. Then I just had to try to fix it. I thought sanding it away would be the answer. Obviously not. After asking ChatGPT, it gave me some things to try. One of which was to use naphtha with a white Scotch Brite pad. The pads were great, no problem, but the naphtha, or whatever it is illegal in the UK. So I just used some white vinegar instead and a hard nylon brush, which seemed to do the job. This section is just coming up with final shape, and I just drew it freehanded as I didn't want it to be perfect. I did forget to press record when cutting the excess away off on the bandsaw, and then I did the same with the template made out of plywood. But attaching the plywood, I'm using some double back tape from B&Q, but it seems it's just not strong enough. Would you believe it though that I don't think that I've ever used a template on the router table? As with this, I think I left too much excess wood to remove. You can also see why I'm wondering about stronger double-sided tape, as the template did slip a few times. Once I had trimmed it down, I just needed to put a round over on both sides. Then any extruding pieces from the round over, I just sanded it down with 180 grit and finished the whole thing off with Danish oil.
And there we go, another project done, and with the finished result, as hopefully you can see here, and if that's not shown too well I will put a little photo in. Disaster has been averted. All of the panicking on when I was doing the epoxy resin and trying to do the compound and clean the compound out of the Iroko, in the end The finish, which was just Danish oil, worked a treat. So I'm very happy with it. If you've enjoyed this video, and again, regular viewers know I don't often say this, but if you've enjoyed it, please consider hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel, because this year I would love to get to over 500 subscribers. Well, let's say by June. And as I always say, until the next time, Gan Canny Man. Christ, I feel like crap.